because the administrators are getting $2 or $3 from the Jews. I say $2 or $3 compared to 81 billion. Oh, they gave us $1 million. They gave us $10 billion. So, you know, there's been every obstruction to us helping the black man get up and do for self. But now, thank Allah, we black people have produced a generation, this is written in the Bible, a generation that was not reared worshiping false gods or a spook god. They are enamored of material wealth, but there's nothing wrong with wanting material wealth. That's why Allah created a material universe. So don't invalidate their desire for the better things in life. Show them the righteous way to have it. Almost there. After the Honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke at the Uline Arena, Washington, D.C., back in 1959, he spoke to 10,000 people. The 60s roll in and the Nation of Islam's success is starting to increase in every way. So white America stepped up its attacks on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the nation. And their newspapers and magazines began describing the life-giving message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as a hate teaching. Now this they're doing while they're lynching us every day in the South, making us suffer the most debilitating Jim Crow laws. Segregation is the law of the land. In 1962, 100 LA police burst in on Temple number 27 in Los Angeles, shot and killed the mosque secretary, paralyzed another brother, injured several Muslims, many were arrested. Here in Chicago, the nation purchased 5 acres of land at 85th and South Park, which is now Martin Luther King Drive. The devil went to court and forced us to sell it back to the city, because they don't want you to have a hospital. You know what they did with the land? They made a playground out of the land. Now, they also orchestrated during this time the assassination of Malcolm X. Temple number 7, because the mosque was called a temple then. Temple number 7 was firebombed. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad ordered that temple to be purchased by the nation, completely renovated to include both a mosque and a school. Now, around this time, this is the point I'm getting to, it was announced on national television that killers were coming to Chicago to take the life of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He had no fear of that threat whatsoever, but it kindled Allah's wrath. Now, America, in the wake of this plan to kill the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, plunged into the quicksand that is known now as the Vietnam War. Now think about then and think about now. At that time, America's schools, her cities were engulfed in revolt and burnings. Her own white children went into a revolt against her aggressive war policies and her school system. Her economy was disrupted, her dollar declined, and the American people lost complete faith in their government. They began to display their disrespect, and they reverted back to the nude clothing styles, reminiscent of their days in the caves. And many so-called Negroes went right with them. That is what is happening right now. Why? Because there's an active conspiracy to kill the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan right at this moment. So this country is being embroiled. And you say, but what about us? What do you mean, what about us? We're being chastised for our rebellion, our hard-headedness, and our disobedience to the messenger of Allah. And it will keep happening until we submit. Want to live all up with them? We're going to be killed by them. They want to arrest Minister Farrakhan. They've got lust for putting their hands on him. They have made moves in the past, little efforts in the past, but in their secret councils, those who want to put their hands on him, they're now gaining dominance in the argument. They are killing our children now because in the book of Numbers, the age to go into the army was 20. Trayvon, 17. Jordan Davis, 17. Michael Brown, 18, on his way to college. Tamir Rice, 12. The enemy knows what time it is. It is time to make all men and boys join the FOI. All praises due to Allah. Do you think, beloved, the minister's magnificent message to our young people at Morgan State? Michael Brown was on his way to community college. But at Morgan State, you definitely need to look at that one. It didn't fall on deaf ears. His embrace of our youth has not been in vain. Our youth don't fear death because they've never known life. Because we have abandoned them. We sat around and let this beast close the schools. Let him put metal detectors in the schools. Let him deprive our children of every legitimate path to success. Push them out into the street, and then when they have nowhere to go, he sends his dogs to roll up on them and gun them down while we sit sucking up to a damn devil. We deserve every whipping that we're getting. We are about to witness our people join Allah's great army, not in the thousands, in the millions. That is why the arch enemy of Allah is using the most mentally challenged sociopath white males as police. These are trained killing machines. They've been in Iraq, they've been in Afghanistan, or they're just some poor white trash who can't get any other job. They are foaming at the mouth with envy and hatred that despite all they've done to us, we had the nerve to put a black man and his black wife and his beautiful black children in the Oval Office. Yes, we did. Now you got his hands tied, but Farrakhan's hands are not tied. Trust and believe. All praise is due to Allah. They are killing our men so they can't fight in this army. Killing our boys and babies so they can't grow up to be in the army. Killing our mothers and sisters so they can't produce men for the army. These young black women who are born to be mothers of civilization under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Eric Garner, yes, that's right, he was selling loose cigarettes. Already manufactured and distributed by white corporate America. But this was a man who got up in the morning and sought a way to feed his family. He was polite when they approached him. Officer, I'm minding my own business. They murdered him in front of us. He would have made a wonderful captain or lieutenant in the FOI. Now, you white people out there, yeah, big time, they're watching. You descendants of kidnapping, rapists, terrorists, murderers, and you just like your daddy and mama. You on social media, you running around buying guns. Yeah. Okay, okay, all right. Yeah. We know. That's why you better study time and what must be done, so you know how they were made. They ain't created, they were made. They are genetically, and I'm talking to you white people out there, you're intellectually and genetically incapable of even mentally processing how wicked and evil you are. You deny your own sordid history. You deny the reality of a black God, and I realize it must be very difficult for you to know instinctively, because even the lowest life form has an instinct. You know instinctively you're not from the originator. You know you were made in a laboratory by one of our great scientists who made you in an act of rebellion. You made to rebel. You don't know how to submit. Just a handful. Okay. All right, so you kill us on sight now. You've been slaughtering lambs while the sheep stood around and looked at you. But you haven't encountered the lion. You have not tangled with the pride. Tell you something about the Muslim followers of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And that's why we invite all of you to join with us. We're different. We're a black people who know who we are. We fear no one but Allah. That's not good for you. We don't carry any weapons. But you don't want to run up on us because we'll take yours. We don't need to be bothered carrying no weapon. We will take yours. And we will do to you what you intended to do to us. And that ain't even the worst of it. That's not even, we're just the cheering. We serve a God who is waiting for you, who has the greatest weapon of destruction since the origin of the universe, sitting right up here, the mother plane. If you want to run up on us, you come on. Because let me tell you, all of this threatening Minister Farrakhan, calling for his arrest, nothing to say to the enemies of Farrakhan or their Negro imps, except to say his enemies are Allah's enemies. They are the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's enemies, and they are your and my enemies. I would tell them to go straight to hell if they wasn't already there. All praise is due to Allah. Now to the righteous, those of us stumbling and striving, I'm right there with you. I I ain't no more than Vanna White turning letters up here. I'm just in the class trying to pass, okay? But I just want to get a peek at what's about to go down. But I want to dive in that mammy jammy. Because yeah, y'all, you're an angry black woman. I am a furious black woman. I'm hyperventilating up in here. I'm going to get me some before this is over. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Because this is our ancestors in our blood. They were hanging off of trees. They were burning. They cried out. We were not there, but I'm saying to all, we're here now. And they are here in us. And we're going to get some justice. I'm not going out here. I'll go out with that. Student Minister Jeffrey gave me this mic. If I start that, I'll just have a fit. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us, and the righteous, look, we want to know how to attain the stature of a man who has the love of the masses of our people around the globe. We have to ask, how did he get where he is? He teaches us how the enemy will attack us in our present state of mind. The enemy uses his psychoanalysts to study us, to see our strength and our weaknesses. And our greatest test is overcoming the ego and getting past the insecurities that affect how we feel about each other, how we relate to each other. Because the only thing standing between us and the promised land is this profound dislike that we have for each other that comes from living with the enemy of God. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as I told you earlier, he came in the ranks. He came in the FOI. He recited his lessons. And I am saying to you, he paid his charity then and now. And I'm saying to all of us, every person in this room, everyone in the sound of my voice and beyond, everyone listening to him today, you are created for this moment. Our people have waited for 66 trillion years since the massive act of rebellion of the deportation of Moon. That's why you got to do time and what must be done. What you talking about? Let me tell you how bad the black man is. You get angry and act crazy, you split planets apart. So we're going to come out of that. We're not going to do that anymore. Because that was what led to us being in this condition. All right? But what I am saying is there's not a person in here who is not potentially a God. You're born to be a God, male or female. That means you're going to have to take what is yours. Allah has already deposited some of his essence in you. Now, the problem is this. Minister Farrakhan gave us a study course called Self-Improvement, the basis for community development. So it's not your neighbor, it's not the people in your house, it's you and me. Okay? You want to improve your conditions, change yourself. And the conditions will change. Resurrection, he has revealed, is something you and I can do ourselves. If we undergo a process of self-examination, self-analysis, we can do our own self-correction. So when you're in my sphere, we can actually manifest Allah. We don't have all 99 of his attributes, but the ones that we have, when people look at us, exhibiting those attributes or feel our service or productivity from those attributes, we can be perfect in those attributes. Therefore, when people see us do what we were born to do, it's the same as looking at Allah do it. Think about that. So how did he get where he is? He subdued the earth. He went through over a half century and continues. He is the most humble man. I was in a group of meeting with him earlier this week, Monday and Tuesday, with the executive council and other people. Meetings that lasted 8-9 hours. We would get up, different people run out, take a moment to leave, self, or get water, or make a phone. He never left the room. Took a sip of water here and there. And mostly what he does, and I'm going to share the secret with you. You know what he does? And if you watch him, you know this. He listens. He doesn't wait for you and I to finish so he can talk. He listens to every single person who speaks. Wherever he is, anytime, any place, he listens. He learns from people. He takes advice from people. He sees the God in his brothers and sisters. But why is he so comfortable like that? Because he has done what the rest of us must do. He knows who he is. He knows what his divine purpose is. Once you know what you were born for, I'm not talking about from your perspective or the recording company or the team or the job or your husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or your homies. What did Allah create you to do? Once you find out, you'll never feel envy. You'll never feel jealousy of anybody. You will know complete soul satisfaction because you will know your greatness through your willing to recognize your nothingness. And me, I'm in the same class. Now, this is a man, if we could only live a little bit like him, if we could promote good, if we could shun evil and indecency, close our ears to gossip, engage in character development, overcome difficulty, don't run from no problem, face it, then we will be like him, but we will be who we are. Don't be afraid and think in the Nation of Islam you're going to lose your identity. No, you're going to finally know your identity. So lastly, I went over, I apologize. Lastly, for real, I have to tell you this. The Million Man March in 1995, I want you to go to John 12 in your New Testament, John 12, 9 through 11. Because I want you to understand how that put the plot to kill him in motion, sincerely. In John, if you recall, see, there's not only a plot to kill Jesus, there is a plot to kill Lazarus. Why? Well, look at what it reads. The common people of the Jews learned that he was there. They came not for Jesus' sake only, but that they might see Lazarus, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Now look at 10. But the chief priests took counsel that they might put Lazarus also to death, because that by reason of Lazarus, many of the Jews went away and believed in Jesus. So when Minister Farrakhan raised up 2 million black men from the grave, they knew this was the fulfillment of prophecy. They went to work immediately to kill Lazarus. They finished off the destruction of the black family. They lowered the black woman to an all-time low. And then their scholars started doing studies. In that same year, 95, and I didn't bring it with me, some so-called intellectual put out a study on the super predator, talking about 10-year-old, 7 to 10-year-old black boys, and how they would grow into a super predator and be a threat to white people. So you wonder why these cops pull their guns out and fire not 1, but 10, 15, 20 shots, because this has been the discussion among white folks for 20 years. When they see a black man, they see their own demise. So they've been trying to kill Lazarus, which is the black man, the dead man raised alive. Now, Lazarus, a lot of us, when we think of him, you think of him as an adult, right? Maybe middle-aged, maybe older. Lazarus was a young man, maybe even a teenager. In the Gospel of Mark, and there's a Roman Catholic scholar by the name of Mary Starbird who wrote a book on Mary Magdalene. And she writes in her book, now look at this, new arguments concerning the identity of Mary in light of a recently discovered text called the Secret Gospel of Mark. Because you do know that these 4 Gospels we got were not the only ones. Jesus had 70 and more disciples, many of them women. One of them, Mary, who was the apostle to the apostles. We'll talk about that another time. But look at this. She's quoting a passage from the text of the gospel of the secret gospel of Mark, because you didn't get the whole gospel of the ones you got. And it makes a reference to, quote, the sister of the youth Lazarus, whom Jesus raised. The sister of the youth from Bethany, Lazarus, whom Jesus loved. Remember, when Jesus was crucified, he was, 32 years old. He was a young man. He was an adult. He wasn't some old man. Now, why was Jesus, as the Bible said, he loved Lazarus? He loved Lazarus because he was deeply invested in that family. And Lazarus' sister was Mary, who was not a prostitute. Nowhere in the Bible does it say she's a prostitute. That was Pope Gregory that said that 500 years later. When sexism was really taking hold. My point is this. The minister has connected with the youth. He has raised from the dead the youth. And so now there is a conspiracy to kill not only the minister, but to kill as many young black brothers as they can before this army is built. But they are going to fail. They are going to fail because Allah, God, has determined that in this hour, He is going to destroy America. No, He's going to obliterate the white man's world, and He has already chosen you to be His people, and He is to be our God. One last thing. She just said this earlier. Gotta tell you, to show you how low we are in the eyes of these beasts. In the midst of all of this killing of young black men, last summer, a jury in Florida again convicted a 17-year-old black boy, sentenced him to 23 years behind bars. This was a judge, because he was actually underage. He was 16 at the time of the incident. His name was, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right, it's either Ivins or Ivins, I-V-I-N-S. Last name Rosier or Rosier, R-O-S-I-E-R. He was convicted, oh thank you brothers, you're so great. He was convicted in May of this year for breaking into the home of a state trooper and shooting the officer's 5-year-old German Shepherd. This happened 2 years ago. A retired police dog. Hear what I said? A retired police dog. He was 16 at the time, but he was tried as an adult, and he was sentenced to 23 years in prison. During his interrogation by detectives, and apparently he was where he shouldn't have been, absolutely, in somebody's house trying to grab something, and apparently this dog saw him and went at him and he shot at him. During the interrogation, which was recorded, look at what the police said to him. If you shoot that dog, and he already had, the dog didn't die until 5 days later, said if that dog dies, it is the murder of a law enforcement officer. You hear me? Rather than sentence him as a juvenile with a maximum 6-year term, the Judge Rosenberg, said she didn't feel 6 years was appropriate because Rosier had faced previous charges for grand theft, battery, lewd and lascivious molestation, and false imprisonment. And I'd love to get behind these charges and see the facts. During the 2012 shooting, he was wearing an ankle monitor for a previous charge, which officers used to link him to a crime scene. So a 17-year-old boy is being locked up for 23 years because he killed a dog. But these officers that choked Eric Garner put their foot on his head, laid down on his body. They brought a team, a mob. And remember, Minister Farrakhan told us that the new mob is backup from the police. That's the modern day white mob. He gets 23 years. This cop doesn't even get a charge of even voluntary manslaughter. So it is time for us to leave the wilderness and march into the promised land of Georgia. I thank Allah for your time and attention. May Allah bless all of us with the light of understanding as I leave you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
All praises due to Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Brothers and sisters here in Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Houston, get on your feet and give a well-deserved round of applause. Student Minister Ava Muhammad, all praises are due to Allah. All praises are due to Allah. To those in the various cities, I know you're excited. To those that are here for your first time, here in Chicago, and those in the listening audience, if you believe that what you've heard is good for you, good for our community, raise your hand right now. All praises are due to Allah. Also, those with your hand up right now, if what you've heard that you know to be the truth, and the truth for you and for our people, and you are ready to join and become a part of the Nation of Islam to help Student Minister Ava, to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, raise your hand right now. All praise is due to Allah. For those that have raised their hand, here in Chicago and across the country. We'd like for you to come right down to the center aisle right now to shake the hand of Student Minister Ava Muhammad on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, on behalf of the members of the Nation of Islam, those that would like to join and become a part of the Nation of Islam. Don't be shy, don't be bashful. In the various cities, come down right now to the center aisle to shake the hand. Student Minister Ava Muhammad or the representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the various cities. All praises are due to Allah. For those sisters that have raised your hand, don't be shy. Come right down to the center aisle and shake the hand of Minister Ava Muhammad. For those sisters, you can come right now to the center aisle and shake the hand of Student Minister Ava Muhammad. All praises are due to Allah. To those that are at home and you're not able to shake a hand, you can go right now and send us an email at noi.org and send us a brief line, your name, your address, your email, and say, I'd like to join. I would like to become a part of the Nation of Islam. I enjoyed today's lecture. I enjoyed last week's lecture. I enjoy every lecture that comes from Mosque Mariam. I am ready to accept my own and be myself. All praises are due to Allah.